All right, I think I have everyone who's going to start today. Sue, are you ready?
I am ready, sir.
Okay, so this training today was specifically designed for boards and committees. Now, most of you probably was using WebEx from March till about now. WebEx changed. Now the free version isn't as user-friendly, we'll call it. They put a time limit on everything. So everyone's going to start using Zoom. So the town has already purchased 4 accounts. We treat them kind of like conference rooms, first come, first serve. So what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over some open meeting law, how to schedule your Zoom meeting, what to put on your agenda, how to start that meeting, and then we're going to go over the controls. Sue is very busy, but I'm very glad she's here to help me today. I'm going to let her start with open meeting law. Once she's through, we'll pause, let everyone ask questions if you have any on just the open meeting law, and then I'll proceed, and we'll pause in between, and I will always take questions as we get through with the 3 parts. So Sue, I'm going to start sharing the screen, so just bear with me. So whenever you're ready, Sue.
Okay, so first of all, thank you all for being here. I'm going to briefly, this is not my deck. Hillary from the Select Board's office set this up. So I may skip over sections. I may elaborate on items that aren't necessarily in the deck. If you have any questions at all, you can ask them at the end. So first of all, the requirements of open meeting law. Everybody is still required to post a meeting within the 48-hour timeline. That does not include Saturdays, Sundays, or holidays. So under normal circumstances, we would meet in person. Due to COVID-19, we're allowing, or the governor is allowing, remote participation for all members. So it's basically, everything is the exact same. The only differences in terms of for open meeting law is that members can meet from their office, their home. They don't all physically have to be in the same location. You still have to have a quorum present. You still have to post your meeting. You still have to have every item that you would be posting on your agenda. New slide?
Yep.
So let's see. So one of the things, and this goes with both in person and with Zoom, is you're not required to allow for public participation. What open meeting law is saying is that you are required to allow the public to attend your meeting. Doesn't mean that they can ask questions, only if the chairperson determines it's appropriate. That should be listed on your agenda if that's going to be allowed, so that people would realize that they can have questions. Sometimes in the middle of a meeting, if it's not on your agenda and somebody is present and they have a question, that determination would be made by the chair whether or not they would allow it or not. New slide. So there's ways to hold a remote meeting in compliance with the open meeting law. First thing you're going to do is you're going to contact Hillary in the Select Board's office. She will, similar to booking a room, she will book a Zoom ID for you. Like Rob said, there are 4 licenses. So at any given time, we can have up to 4 meetings at a particular time. Once they're done, it's like a conference room. You can't have a meeting at that time. So my suggestion is when your committee is making a determination to have a meeting, verify that that time is available. And if it is, you should book everything, including posting your meeting. As soon as you know when a meeting is going to happen, my advisement is to post it with your agenda items. You can always revise your agenda items up to the 48-hour window, but you're giving public as great of notice as possible. Or you can hold the meeting on a conference call by booking a line with Hillary as well. And again, you're going to post the meeting according to the requirements of the governor's executive order in the open meeting law. New slide. So as I've already said, the open meeting law, you do need 48 hours in advance. You do need to complete the same form that we have all been completing for your meeting notices. If you have a lot of agenda items, you want to use the long form. If it's a normal or small size agenda, you want to use the short form. Where it is listed, if you could go to the slide that shows the picture of the postings. Thank you, Rob. So where it says building, that is where you would provide the remote Zoom link. You get that information, Hillary will send it to you in an email. You would just copy it and paste it into that spot. Under the room area, you're going to put your dial-in number, the webinar ID, and a password. At the top of every open meeting law agenda, you're going to see that it says conducted in parentheses pursuant to the executive order. That has to be on every agenda. You're also going to, for convenience sake, for members that just want to push a button to join your meeting, you're going to copy and paste the participation remote information. Then you would list your agenda items. And if you could go back, thank you. So, new slide. So, if for some reason you can't provide public access on Zoom or a conference call, so an example, you might have an emergency meeting. If for some reason you or your chair is determined that it is an emergency meeting, you should contact me to just verify that, in fact, it does constitute an emergency. Sometimes I will be able to help you with that. If I'm not, I would consult or refer you to consult with town council. And then, again, an emergency meeting would post it as soon as possible, and you would have to have the public live link. For an emergency, you really would have to have providing access for the public. Thank you. So, in terms of allowing public comment and participation, if public participation is required by law, such as a public hearing, you have to provide the opportunity. If it is just a board or committee meeting, you can, it's more optional. So you can have a portion dedicated to public comment. Usually in Milton, we do offer that, but it's not required. If a member of the public, they're entitled to appear before your body, you must ensure that they have a means to do so before the meeting. So if somebody contacts the chair or you and they don't have access to a computer or something, it would be up to you as the administrator for their meeting to find a means for them to be able to view the meeting. So my suggestion would be to reach out to Rob, and he can provide you with suggestions. Hillary, unfortunately, would not be able to help you with any of that information. Next. Okay, so facilitating public comments and participation. If you are having public comments, during that, you would, or other agenda items which solicit participation, ask users to raise the hand feature. Rob's going to go over in more detail as to how to do that with Zoom. But it's *9 if they're using a phone. The chair needs to have their participant panel open so that they can see those hands that are raised and recognize those people one at a time. So if in fact you are the Zoom administrator for your chair, you may have to have a means to communicate with your chair if that's your function, to be watching for that. If your meeting has a topic of high interest, you might consider asking those who would like to comment to register in advance. That way you can kind of review with them how the Zoom works in case they aren't familiar. Next slide. So everything that we've discussed so far applies under Governor Baker's March 12th executive order, which suspended certain provisions of the open meeting law. The only thing really suspended is that you don't have to meet in person. Most of the other stuff has always been in effect. Next slide. So if you have questions with regard to setting up a meeting or anything like that, you should direct them to Hillary, and here's her information. If you have questions with regard to open meeting law, you can direct them to either Hillary or myself. And I think that's about it. One thing I do want to say is if, in fact, any board is going into executive session, I just want to reaffirm, it doesn't matter if you're meeting in person or if you're meeting via Zoom. It is required that you publicly, that a meeting is opened publicly. So by that, I mean, you would still need to set an agenda, open the meeting, announce to the public, you're going into executive reason. There's only 10 reasons as to why you can enter into executive session, which is in the open meeting guide. You would need to ensure that the reason that you are going into executive session complies with one of those 10 reasons. If it does not, you cannot go into executive session. If it does, you would state that on the agenda verbatim as to what's in the open meeting law. The chair would read that. Then they would take a roll call to go into executive session. If the board or committee is not coming back out of executive session and they're going to end at the end of, you need to announce that at that time. If the board or committee is going to come back into open session after it, again, you need to announce that, and the participants would be aware, oh, I should hang on because they're going to come back and announce something. Oh, and I think that's
one more slide. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, I'll go over this at Zoom training.
Okay.
Okay. So, does anyone here have any questions for Sue specific to open meeting law?
I do.
By all means.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Does it need to be televised on cable television, the meeting, for people to watch, to be considered a public meeting?
So, it doesn't, so the rule of thumb that I've been using is if you have had in the past it being televised by Milton Cable, it should be continued to be televised. So you would need to make arrangements with Milton Access TV. If your meetings have not, then no. It is, so basically the virtual world is exactly like how you would be holding a meeting if it was in person. The only difference is that everybody's not together. So all the rules still apply. It's just for everybody's safety, we're doing it in a virtual area. So
Okay,
I
what
know
happened is, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
If there's another meeting, say the selectmen on the same night as conservation, Milton Cable decides to televise the selectmen's meeting rather
Well, the
than
selectmen's
conservation.
meetings are always televised. So you would have to coordinate with Milton Access TV so that your meeting, if it's deemed that, the Conservation Commission needs to be televised, then you would have to arrange, just like you would if it was a in-person meeting. You would have to make arrangements to either A, have it at a different time, or B, that it's recorded and shown later. I don't know what the requirements are for Conservation Commission. You would know those, but I do know that the select board meetings are always televised.
Okay, maybe I'm a little bit confused. I don't know who decides what gets televised and what does not get televised.
Well,
Was
let
that
me
up
ask
to
you
the
this, Kathy.
cable, or-
Have you always had com meetings televised? Are they always televised?
Only within the last year.
Okay, so then you would talk with your chair, and maybe it was determined. I wouldn't have that information. So
Okay.
you should, but that's not that's out of my purview. So I don't know.
So if they just met on Zoom, would it still be considered a public meeting if they weren't televised? But all the information was given to
So
the public.
any meeting that's as long as it's every board and committee is required to post meetings. And as long as you're posting a meeting, holding it so that the public can attend, whether it's televised or that they can watch it via the computer, you are complying with the open meeting law.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions on open meeting law? Feel free to unmute yourself and just speak up.
Great.
All right, I don't see anyone else. Thank you, Sue. I know you're
Okay.
very busy, so I'll let
Yeah,
you leave.
thank you. Sorry, I'm going to bow out, everybody, but thank you very much.
Yep.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I'm going to proceed with the training, and I'm going to try to run through this start to finish, going over getting your Zoom license, your account, your info, and starting the meeting. So let me bring up another slide. Just bear with me. And share my screen. All right, so the four things, this is a very short PowerPoint, 8 slides. Pretty much how are we gonna schedule your meeting? What do you need to put on your agenda? What shouldn't you put on your agenda? And how do you start your meeting? So very simply, to schedule your meeting, you're always gonna talk to Hillary. Kind of like booking a conference room, you'd go through her. She's gonna give you your account info. She'll schedule it in the software for you. She's going to do the back end stuff. So her number is right here up on the slide. I will provide both this slide, the open meeting law slides, and the video of this all on the town website. If you go to the IT department later today, it will all be there. So you'll be able to reference this. So what you'll do, you'll call Hillary, say, I've got a meeting for whatever your board and committee is on this date and time. She is going to email you the information you need, the login for the host account. So you would own the host. You'd start the meeting, you'd kick everything off, and you'd be in charge of monitoring the participants and making sure they're joining in correctly. So she'll give you the host info. She'll give you the link to the meeting, what you would post on the website, the meeting ID, the password, everything that you would need to put on the website, onto your agenda, I should say, which would go on the website. So what you need to put on that agenda, the Zoom link should be in the building field, the dial-in number, meeting ID, password goes in the room field, and you can put some of this info in the body, and then you just fill out your agenda like you normally would. But whatever you do not put the host email or password into the agenda. So the host email is what controls like the functions. And if we start giving that out to the public, they could potentially be holding their own Zoom meetings. You do not want to give out that. Just strictly the info they need to join the meeting. And I believe, yeah, I do have another sample slide here, just a little bigger. The same thing Sue went over, the link that Hillary gives you, the dial in, the meeting ID, the password, and they even put a little at the bottom down here just to make it a little easier. Okay. So how do you start your meeting? It's a requirement. So we're going to do this off computers. You probably could do it off an iPad. I don't own one, so I've never tried it off an iPad. So on a computer, you have to download the Zoom program. It's not a choice because you wouldn't join by link. You would actually have to open the Zoom program to sign in with the host account that Hillary will give you. And then it's very straightforward. You sign in with that email and password that Hillary gives you because you're the host. And on that home screen, it should be the first thing you see, start meeting, as long as your meeting's within that half hour. If you don't actually see it, there is a tab for meetings. I will show you that when we get to it. So you could find your meeting if for some reason it wasn't there. So anything else? Residents can't join the meeting until you've started it. As the host, I mean, I recommend maybe 15 minutes before. I know when I started, there were people waiting. They really can't join the meeting until you as the host start the meeting. If, like I said earlier, if you don't see the home screen after you sign in, there's a meetings tab, we'll check there. But even though you have the host info, the host login, you never schedule your own meetings. Hillary will take care of that for you because we only have 4 accounts, we're sharing. So I might give you the email and password for the host for this account today, but next week you have a meeting, it might be a completely different account because it's first come, first serve. Hillary will tell you which account to use in the login for it. Now at this point, is there any questions so far up to this point?
Rob, it's Paige. I have a question.
Yes.
When you said download the Zoom
Program.
onto the, you just do it once, like I just did it. Do I have to do it again?
No, once it's
When I have my
installed
meeting?
once, you're good. You know, it might be a good idea every now and then, every month or two, you could download it again just to make sure you have the latest update. But no, you don't have
Okay.
to do that all the time.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, it's Julia. Hi. I just wanted to make sure everyone remembers to change the link on the back side of the agenda because there's instructions on how to join the meeting on the back of the agendas, and you have to update that each time that you post a meeting. It's not the same kind of information on.
Yeah, you would use whatever link that Hillary gives you for that particular meeting. They are unique for every single meeting.
So you have to put down the address twice on an agenda, on the front page where the meeting's listed and on the back page where the instructions on how to join are.
Yeah, if you're
Does that
using
make
the
any
long,
sense?
yeah, you probably use as a planning board, you probably get the long link, 2 pages long.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
otherwise, you would just put it on that first page. It was on the top, but it's just so the link is
Okay.
clearly seen. Anyone else? All right, I don't see any other questions, so I'm gonna try and do this start to finish. I'm gonna show you how to actually start your meeting. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen again. And I have to do one little thing, so don't mind me what I'm doing. Sorry, don't mind this. 1 second. I have to sign out of here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm minimizing this so you can see my screen. And I've already downloaded my Zoom program. It's already on the computer. This is my shortcut for Zoom. So after you've talked to Hillary and she's given you your special Zoom login as host, You're going to open the program, and you're going to sign in with those credentials that Hillary gives you. So I'm using, it's going to be something like Zoom 5, Zoom 4. There's going to be a like Zoom number at townofmilton.org. And the password that she gives you for it. All right. So on this screen, it's going to be a little different when you actually use it. But let me slide this over. Because we're already in the middle of a training, my start button's grayed out. But normally that would just be, I believe it's blue in color or green. All you'd have to do, if that's your meeting, like this is the Zoom training, July 31st, all you have to do is hit start. And it just comes up, might ask you very basic questions. You know, do you want to join with audio? You can say yes to all of that. If for some reason you did not see it here on the home screen, at the very top is this meetings button. And it shows all the meetings that's been scheduled, and you could literally start it right there. And once again, it's only grayed out now because we're in the middle of a meeting. Is everyone good so far? Any questions? All right, no questions. So let's proceed on with the actual controls. So I'm actually going to start giving everyone special permissions. So if you can see, you might actually, my camera might be in the way, my face. You can actually grab that at the top and move it if my face is in the way on the right. But as I hover over each of these people in the participants list, so you can open your participants at the bottom and you can see everyone's in the meeting, there are options. Right now, I'm going to give you co-hosts strictly for training. You wouldn't actually never do this in a real meeting because that gives them controls to move people, kick them out, mute them. For training purposes, I'm giving you co-host rights, but this is just for training. Normally you'd be the host and that would be it. Maybe if you have a slightly larger committee, maybe you give a chair or one other person of your committee co-host rights, but they have all the controls to mute and unmute and do all the interesting stuff. So let me just bear with me as I finish this up. Only a couple more people. So as a host, what you need to do, so you've started your meeting. The first thing you might see is at the very top, like here, I got one person waiting. I have a test account here. So these are your residents trying to join in. They can't see anything other than they're just in a room. You know, they're waiting to join the meeting. All you have to do is hover over them and just hit admit. Gives it a minute and then they're in. That's it. There's nothing to it. The residents in, and then they can sit and watch. And like I said, you just would not give the residents host ability, no co-host or anything. And then it's, yes, Bonnie.
Just a quick question about recording. Now you're obviously already recording the
Yes.
meeting. So I would want to do that probably right at the start of my meeting. And I would just click the record down the bottom here, correct?
Yes, so I was actually going to go over the recording towards the end because
Okay.
I am,
All right, because I do have a question on that. All right.
yeah, because I am kind of stuck where I'm recording, so I don't want to stop and restart the recording.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So I will get to the recording part. Right now, I'm just kind of going over the controls. So back like where I was, so we did admit the test account. Now, I gave you all co-host rights, so I want you to play with this a little. So I've got 2 accounts you're allowed to use, the test 1 and test 2. So anyone, if you want, you can go hover over them and go to more. And you can tell them, you can remove I'm removing their permission so they can't do anything. Or you can literally put them back in the waiting room. So if you did do a general session and you don't want people in the room, you start your meeting as you normally would. You say, we're going to enter a general session. Then you would literally go and put everyone back in the waiting room other than your board members. So that's very important if you ever do general session. And then when you're done, once again, you just go back and you admit them. So feel free to play with these two test 1 and test 2 accounts. If you want to try this yourself, you all have co-host rights. You are able to do so. While you're playing with that, I'm going to keep proceeding, but there's really not much beyond that. If someone's muted, you can always hover over, ask them to unmute. They'll get a prompt on their screen and they can unmute themselves. I'm not going to do that in this case just because the computer's right next to me. I'm going to get the echo effect. If you have 2 or more computers all playing near each other, you will get that echo. It just picks up each other and it's like an endless loop. I mean, for the most part, there's nothing to it. Bottom left, you can unmute yourself. So you have to step away, you just click it, it mutes, or you can stop your video, walk away, come back and unmute or unstop the video. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Nope. I mean, other than the recording, which I'll go over in a moment, there's really not much left to the actual Zoom controls. Everything's there, you know, what their options are. You wouldn't make them a host, you wouldn't make them a co-host, and they wouldn't need to record, but you could rename them. So when you first join the meeting, it's probably going to say like Zoom 5, Zoom 4, whatever the account Hillary gave you. I'm going to rename myself and I'll put my real name in there. And that's it. So if someone came in and you weren't sure, so I see someone here on an iPad, I don't know who they are. You might ask them to unmute and say, can you, person on the iPad, can you please identify yourself? It's John Doe, and you could rename them. It helps with phone calls too. So if people do dial in, that you can ask them who they are and you can rename them. So it might make things a little more smoother. I know when you're not doing televised meetings, the audience tends to be very few or almost non-existent if you're not televised. So you may not have this type of an issue. I mean, any other questions while I'm still here or? Nope. All right, I'm gonna go over the recording part. So we're already recording this meeting. So it's very straightforward. You push the button to record, it'd probably be right about here. You start the recording, it's gonna ask you, where do you wanna save it? The cloud or the computer? You're gonna save this computer. We don't have a ton of cloud space, and then you'd have to go through Hillary to get your meeting after the fact, after it creates. But you save it to the computer, you have your meeting, and at the very end, you just stop the recording. And when you end the meeting, it's gonna compile. You'll see a window, you'll know it's doing something, and it will save it to your computer. And I believe it saves to your documents as a Zoom folder that automatically gets created into your documents. Any questions on recording?
Nope.
Nope. In that case, that's essentially the end of training. I mean, the roles are very simple. You know to reach out to Hillary to book your room. So if you have any questions, you can always call or email. Bonnie, you raising your hand or?
Yeah. So I'm hovering over the different things on the bottom here, but nothing seems to be really happening. I mean,
what do you mean at the bottom?
On participants, like if I click on participants at the bottom,
I'm probably still sharing my screen. So let me stop sharing my screen and see if that helps. So when you click participants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I can see what it does.
Okay. That's fine. I don't mind leaving this up for a little bit longer.
Now I can do stuff.
You can do stuff. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right.
Rob, can I ask a question?
Sure.
There seems to be like all the Zoom meetings that I've been attending seem to have some kind of glitch when screens are shared. Like we show a lot of plans and put documents up, and then half the time the host is seeing something different than the participants, and it's always stop sharing your screen. How does sharing documents work exactly?
Not sharing, it's really sharing the screen. So it's really supposed to just mirror whatever you have on the screen. Are you using PowerPoints and those are the ones getting locked up?
Mostly just PDFs.
PDFs. Interesting, because I haven't seen a PDF lock up on me yet. I saw a PowerPoint lock up the other night, and what we thought it was is in Word documents, PowerPoints, sometimes there's an option that says enable editing, and the person sharing the screen did not enable the editing, so it did lock up. When I share my screen, it gives you an option to share everything that I see, desktop and all, or just share the one item like the PowerPoint. I'm in the habit of just sharing my whole screen, and I don't know if it works a little different, or a little more effectively, but I wish I had a better answer for you. I do tend to use the PDFs myself. I mean, I'll convert a PowerPoint to a PDF, and that's what we shared out today were PDFs.
I guess my question is, when, Allison is hosting a meeting, she will be projecting something for everybody to see, and we're seeing something different than what she's seeing, and it's always, stop sharing your screen, and we'll go back to the main meeting, and then eventually what we're all supposed to be looking at pops up. Like what? So if you want to share something with the group, you have to stop sharing your screen? Is that how it works?
No. When you share, you're going to start sharing. So if you were to click on share screen at the bottom, I can't unfortunately show it to you while I'm trying to start a share, but usually you see a couple windows of what's up, and the first one is screen, and that's the one I show. I don't pick the PowerPoint, I don't pick the PDF, I don't pick whatever it is, I pick screen. And then when I share my screen, it literally is everything I see. I'm not restricting myself to one particular document. And I'm wondering if there is a glitch with that. So let me stop my share. Actually, I was able to show that. 1 second. So that's when I talk about the share screen right here. I wouldn't pick Teams. I wouldn't open the Adobe or anything else. So let me stop this. Okay. Any other questions? No, I think we're good. I'm going to end the meeting. So let me stop the recording. Thank you for participating. If you do want to refresh again, you could either join us, contact Hillary. We're doing another one on Thursday the 6th at about 3 p.m. I will put this recording on the IT page, IT department. Also, the PowerPoints that we used today, I will put on the IT department page. So thank you for participating.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.